Hey gang, Professor Feeser here, and in today's video we're talking about Python dictionaries. Python dictionaries are created with squiggly brackets. They have keys and values. They don't have position, so unlike lists, which we could call by a number reference, dictionaries have to be referenced by their key, which will in turn point to the value. Think of a hanging folder, a series of hanging folders in a pull-out drawer. You pull that drawer out, that's the dictionary, the Python dictionary, and you're looking just at a little tab sticking up, that's the key. When you select a key, pull up a folder, there may be very complex information in that folder that was available simply by calling on that key value. The opposite way doesn't work though. You can't pull that drawer out and expect to know the information inside of the folder and have it point back to the tab. It's a one-way lookup. And that's the same way a Python dictionary works. It's one way. You say a key, you get back a value. Gang, this is a video in a series on Python. So if at any point you find yourself getting lost, go back to the first video and work up from there. I promise we'll still be here by the time you get caught up. From the repository that you're going to be working in, go ahead and select a Codespace. If you have one running, that's fine. If you need to build a new one, that's fine as well. Let's call our file, create a new file. Let's call it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles -dict, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Dictionary.py. We're going to start off with the shebang, the doc string, def main, and a doc string for def main. All right, our runtime code is going to start by creating a dictionary, and we can do that with squiggly brackets just like that. If we try to print squiggly brackets, just like that. If we try to print out our dictionary, it's just going to show squiggly brackets. That's not terribly interesting. So let's recreate Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles dictionary, and let's place in it this time a leader, which will point to Leonardo. And now if we were to print tmnt, we would expect something like leader points to Leonardo, just like that. If we wanted to add a new value, let's say tmnt, if we wanted to add inventor, we could point that to whatever the new value was ultimately going to be. So in this case, Donatello. If we then printed tmnt, we would expect to get something like leader is Leonardo, just like inventor is going to point to Donatello. We can't use positions. We mentioned this before, but if we try to print tmnt square bracket 0, this will fail. And that's because the proper way to use a dictionary is to cite a key, like we could print tmnt square bracket inventor, and that should say back Donatello for us. Just like if we print tmnt leader, we would expect to get back Leonardo. Let's comment out our error so our program doesn't end right there. I was just putting that there for a point of reference. Other neat things we can do with dictionaries. Let's add an incorrect value. I'm going to say tmnt, we'll add party dude, and we'll say that's equal to shredder. and we'll print tmnt, we'll see that we now have party dude set to shredder. If we realize, oh, that's not correct, you can actually do an update just by recalling the same key and setting it to what you want it to be, like Michelangelo. At that point, if you were to print out this again, we wouldn't expect Shredder to be there. We would expect Michelangelo to take his place. There's one other thing you should know about a dictionary. When we try to print, I'm going to comment this out because this will cause an error as well. If I try to call a key that doesn't exist, let's say something like attitude. We don't have an attitude in the dictionary, so this will cause an error. That will actually cause your program to fail. There's a way to look up a value in a dictionary without causing a failure. Rather than use the square brackets, use .get. And if you're saying, wait a second, what do you mean use .get? Well, if you have a dictionary has a method called .get. Is a dictionary method that's, remember, a function defined in the class, the dictionary class. And the way this actually works is by default, it has the word none right there. None is a type, which means exactly what it sounds like, a lack thereof, nothing. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just no value. It's like null in other languages. So tmnt.get attitude default returns none. That won't cause an error. It will just make none appear if we were, say, trying to print it. What's really neat about that is we can customize it as well. So if I tried to look up attitude instead of none, I could send back something like, that key is not found in the TMNT dictionary. All right, that's probably pretty good for an intro to dictionaries. Well, I'll tell you what, one other thing we'll add in here. This is often overlooked in Python, and that's the keyword del, D-E-L. Del is how we delete a value. And in this case, let's go ahead and delete, how about party dude? So right up top, we'll go ahead and print tmnt. Then I'm going to delete tmnt square bracket. You pass the key, so party dude. That'll actually removes it. Both the key and the value. The value can't exist without the key. So if we were to print this again, at that point we would expect to be back to just that there. While I'm thinking about it, two other methods that are worth knowing about. tmnt-keys. This will print all the keys. And print tmnt.values. That will print all the values. And that can become useful when we get into studying loops, which is probably in a lesson coming up shortly. All right, now let's say that is actually enough for an introduction to dictionaries. We'll go ahead and end our script if name equals main, and we'll run it. We'll compare the output then to what we predicted. It worked. That's always a good sign. The first thing we predicted was an empty dictionary. We then added leader Leonardo, so when we printed TMNT, that's what we got. We then we added inventor Donatello. We printed TMNT, so we saw inventor Donatello added. We then asked just for inventor, we got Donatello. We asked just for leader, we got Leonardo. TMNT party dude was set to shredder. We saw that added when we printed out the entire dictionary. We changed party dude to Michelangelo, so when we printed it a second time, now party dude was updated from shredder to Michelangelo. We said that .get wouldn't cause an error. It would actually return whatever is in the second position, which we understand is always none. I just hard-coded it in there for effect. And that's what we saw when we tried to print the value associated with a key that didn't exist. We then sent back a custom return. That key is not found in the TMNT dictionary, which we got. We printed TMNT just to make sure we understood where we sat before we deleted party dude and then printed it again. We dropped out party dude Michelangelo from our run. We then said a .keys would show us all the keys. It certainly did. We said a .values would show us all the values, and that certainly did. So finally, if name equals main, called our script. Fantastic. It worked perfectly. Let's go ahead over to source control. Make sure you give yourself a message. Learning about dictionaries is fine. Hit plus on the file, commit that file, and sync the changes. When that sync is completed, you're welcome to close this tab. Hit refresh, and as long as you're seeing a new file called TMNT Dictionary inside your repository, you're good. Okay, gang, dictionaries, pretty straightforward. Remember the squiggly brackets. Remember keys point to values. They're separated by colons. Remember that .get is going to be the preferred best practice way in almost every case to work with a dictionary, simply because it has built-in error handling. If we do try to grab a key that doesn't exist, our program won't screech to a halt. Gang, if you learned something in this video, give me a like and give me a subscribe so I can see you on the next episode of Code with Feeser.